Hey everybody, how's it going tonight? Thanks for joining me on what is here at least, rather overcast and gloomy Tuesday evening. Hope everybody's having a good week. Sorry I didn't manage to get a stream going on Sunday, but it is what it is. Life happens every once in a while. Hey Slinky, how you doing tonight? Well, I was at Target for the first time in quite a while the other day and found that there was a new version of the game Horrified from Ravensburger out that I was not aware of. That being this one here, the Horrified World of Monsters. And being a big fan of the other versions of the game, I couldn't pass it up. I had to go ahead and pick that up to add to my collection. And while reading over the back of it after I got it home, I also found that it is compatible with the Greek Monsters version, which I hadn't picked up yet either, so I went ahead and got that too. That way I have the full collection of Horrified games. And each of these is similar in tone, kind of, to Scooby-Doo, for any of you who watched that stream. They're all cooperative games where you play the monster hunters or heroes in whatever capacity they may happen to be, and you need to protect the town, city, world from said monsters. So each game has a different batch of monsters and a different theme. As you can see, there's the Universal Classic Monsters, American Monsters, monsters from Greek mythology, and now this new World of Monsters. So we'll take a look at those a little closer and see exactly what monsters come in each set. But the interesting thing about this game is they're actually multiple different games in one, in a way, because each monster plays completely different from all the other monsters. They all have their own win criteria, and it adds just a layer of uniqueness for each playthrough that you wouldn't get having the same monster every time you wanted to go play the game. So tonight, I thought we'd probably go ahead and play this new version, but before jumping into that, let's go ahead and look at what the previous versions had to offer. So, starting with the Universal Classic Monsters, we have a game that includes 6 different monsters that you can go up against, each with varying levels of difficulty and complexity, so you can make it as easy or as difficult as you want. Not only by using the more difficult monsters, but by using more of the monsters. You can play the game with any number of them on the board. So, for Universal Classics, you've got Dracula, the Wolfman, the Invisible Man, the Mummy, the Creature from the Black Lagoon, and in a 2-for-1, the Monster and Bride of Frankenstein. And each of these different cards contain the setup and win conditions for the associated monsters. So you can see on here that all of them are different. Like the Invisible Man requires you to complete an investigation gathering clues at different sites. Dracula requires that you destroy several of his coffins around town. Things like that. So, depending on what you want to play, there's a lot to be offered by the different configurations and combinations of monsters in the game. And, as is always the case, best of all, we have miniatures to go along with the game. So let me swap over and we'll look at the miniatures real quick. If I can figure out where the camera placement is for them. And if I can't, we'll use a different camera, I guess. But starting out, we have... Nope. Okay, fine. Be that way. Alright, starting out, we have the mummy. None of that's working so well, huh? All this, and I'm still trying to get a decent camera setup going. Alright, so we have the mummy. Honestly, I think I should take the advice of one of the stream viewers, specifically you, Slinky, as I think you're probably the only one around right now, and just put up still images of the miniatures that come with the game, because none of my cameras want to cooperate for putting them on display tonight. But anyway, there is the Universal Monsters game, and all the boards are very cool. They have various different thematic art or verbiage on them, depending on which version of the game you're playing. Alright, next up we have the American Monsters version, which has a cool little Americana look to the board. And makes it more of a travel ad on the back, with the board itself being on the inside. But this one, oh wow, you can see I've done a lot to open this one up so far. This one has a number of American themed cryptids available to play against, including Bigfoot, the Banshee of the Badlands, the Chupacabra, the Ozark Howler, the Jersey Devil, and every Fallout 76 player's favorite, the Mothman. And again, each of those, just like previously, has their own difficulty levels and their own mechanics to be able to defeat them. And just like in the previous version, they also have their own miniatures, which actually I think are a little bit of a step up from the original miniatures that came in the classics, the Universal Classics. They're a little bulkier, a little heftier, and they just generally look pretty cool. So I will go ahead and post some kind of an image of those so you can see, but they are very neat for any of you out there like me who like to just collect the miniatures regardless of how much playtime you actually get out of the game. Next up is our Greek legend version, which contains several monsters straight out of myth and a board design on the back that looks like one of those pieces of pottery art from Disney's Hercules movie. Remember that? So, but this one gives the options of, if I can get the cards out of there, this one gives us the options of the Basilisk, Cerberus, the Chimera, Medusa, the Minotaur, and the Siren. So some good classic Greek monsters there. One interesting thing about the Greek myths version is that every version of the game comes with civilians who can pop up during gameplay that you can try to rescue in exchange for receiving perk cards you'll be able to play. In the Greek version, those civilians are actually notable Greek figures, like Atlanta here, instead of just regular civilians who are in most ways unrelated to the game. And then you also get several choices in the heroes that you're going to be playing throughout the game. And the Greek version gives some interesting options, like the Traveler as heroes to be played. So it's a little different than some of the other versions out there, and leans more heavily into the fantasy aspects of it in some ways. But last, and certainly not least, we have the game that we'll be taking a look at tonight, which is Horrified World of Monsters. So this one gives 4 monsters that you can compete against, and they take the forms of that's a location, but they take the forms of the Yeti, the Sphinx, the Yangshi, and the elder god himself, Cthulhu. So 4 different versions of monsters that you can play against in this game, with a fifth being kind of in there with a variation on playing against Cthulhu. So for our purposes tonight, we're going to do the suggested starting playthrough, the suggested first time playthrough, which for the World of Monsters version has you competing against the Yeti and the Sphinx. So those will be our 2 monsters for the evening. Let's take a look at the play area. Break out the board here. It's got a cool little monster eye art on the back of it. But this board, like all of the other versions, has several interconnected locations throughout. Up top here we have a terror track, which is the basis for one of the lost conditions of the game. If the terror track reaches its maximum, that's a game over. We've got several locations scattered about, and 4 monster layers that are going to be put into place to go with those locations. The monster layers start the game unrevealed, so one of the conditions to being able to win is to find the layers of the monsters in your particular playthrough. You have to find and unveil those, reveal those, before you can really do anything else. So, I got the miniatures for our starting baddies, with number 1 being the Yeti here. That's just really not working tonight. Sorry about that. Let's see, maybe I can fix this up a little bit to get a better view. Is this going to be any better for us? Oh yeah, significantly so. So there's our Yeti figure. Still a little hard to see with the white, but got some nice detail going on, and he's pretty hefty. And here is our Sphinx figure. Again, looking pretty neat. Hi Jackie, how's it going? So, and just to show the last couple, we have the Yangshi, which is your Chinese hopping vampire, and Cthulhu, which always looks cool in any kind of figure form, regardless of scale. So some fun options here in this one, and some good looking miniatures. For the citizens in this one, we have, for the most part, just random travelers again. The Greek Myths is really the only game that doesn't give you the random travelers. So I'll set these out over here. You actually don't place the citizens onto the board until they're called for, so just set them aside for now. We have a terror marker in the form of a skull that goes on the terror track. And because you're not already disadvantaged enough playing as a single player, the only real differentiating rule for single player in this game is that being solo means, as the rulebook says, the citizens don't have any confidence that you're going to be able to help them out, and so therefore the terror track starts at 3 instead of at 1. So, just behind the curve right off the bat. But, what are you going to do, right? Alright, then we also have the Frenzy marker. If anyone's played any of the Horrified games before, you know the Frenzy marker alternates between your active monsters that you're using for whichever game you're playing, and denotes that one of them always stays in a frenzied state. We have our item bag, which contains our 60 different items that will be placed throughout the game that we need to collect to be able to meet our win conditions. We have dice, which, well, you all know me and dice, so it is what it is. They're there. Then we have our 4 monster layers. That there are 4 locations around the board that have a layer token indicator. So we place those face down at the 4 layers around the board and have to, as part of our efforts, track down and locate which layer belongs to the monsters in our games. And you're absolutely right, Slinky. The miniatures in these games have just continued to get better from the very beginning. The Universal Monster miniatures are a little flimsy. They're not bad. They're really well designed. They're just, there's not a lot to them. Whereas in like this and the American Monsters version, we got some nice hefty chunks of plastic in both of those. But alright, so then we've got a couple decks of cards, the perks cards and the monster cards. So everybody starts the game with a single perk. All the players start the game with a single perk, and the monster cards are what denotes monster actions on each of their turns. So we have to set up each of the individual monsters with their specific criteria, and they all have their own pieces and parts that go with them. So for the Sphinx, the objective, a simple proposition: solve the Sphinx riddle or get eaten. To solve the puzzle, make sure the members sum up to the values printed on the end of each row or column. So sounds like the Sphinx is a Sudoku fan. So the Sphinx also has the power of Lethal Conundrum, which as a group discard 2 items with the same strength or increase tier level by 1. So monster setup for this creature: place 1 layer at each of the 4 layer markers, place Cthulhu at a location indicated by the burning 4, place the 7 runic tokens face down and mix them up, place a dial token on each of the stone locks on Cthulhu's mat. Oh. Instead of having just that monster's setup instructions on the back of its card, it actually has all the monster setup instructions. I was wondering why Cthulhu was part of playing against the Sphinx, but I guess that makes more sense. So for the Sphinx, it says to place him at the number 2 location, which is right here, the Spectre Trail Caravan. And place all of the coin sword tokens next, that's Yangshi. Draw 1 item from the item bag and place it on the indicated space on the Sphinx's mat. So there are several spaces on Sphinx's mat. We will draw 1 item. This item is a 2-power South Station Watcher's Eye necklace. So at the Sphinx's location, place an item on the puzzle grid. Once the strength of the items in each column and row add up to the number at the end of that column or row, you've answered the Sphinx's riddle. So it says to place it on his location on the mat, but none of them really have a location associated to it, so I don't know, I guess we'll just start it in the upper left corner here. And then for the Yeti, we have 3 Yeti children, represented by little Yeti child tokens. And defeating the Yeti is a matter of getting its children back to its cave. Oh, is that an ad? I've made the big time. I'm getting bot ads on my chat. Alright, so for the Yeti, the objective, the Yeti only wants to survive and humanity has stolen everything, including its children. Return the Yeti's children to remove its threat. Its power is the closest hero or citizen not in the Yeti's location takes 1 hit. This has no effect if everyone is in the Yeti's location. So that's the Snow Blast power. And then for its setup, place the Yeti at the location indicated by the 1. So that's up here in the Roaming Wolf. And then place the Yeti's children at the locations indicated by 3, 5, and 6. So the Steward Spire is 6. The House of Dusk is 3. And the Thornwood or Thornvine Woods is 5. So there's our 3 Yeti children placed on the map. Now, all that's really left is to give the lowest valued monster the Frenzy token to start with, so that's the Yeti. Shuffle out our monster deck. Shuffle our perk deck and draw a single perk to start with. So there's our monster deck. Here's our perk deck. And I will draw a starting perk, which in this case is Spectral Diverter. Each player draws and places 1 item from the item bag. So you can use your perks at any time during any round. Once they've been used, though, they're gone. So last but not least, to start off the game, we have to choose a hero. For World of Monsters, those options are the Fortune Teller, the Parapsychologist, the Buccaneer, the Investigator, and the Guardian. But Slinky, seeing as you're the only one that consistently shows up and watches these things, in your honor, I'm going to choose the Parapsychologist as my starting hero. Not quite like you because he's wearing a bowler hat instead of a cowboy hat, but I mean, kind of close, right? He starts at Weir's Observatory, and his special action is you may distribute any items you have to other players. So I chose somebody who has a special action that benefits me in absolutely no way during a solo play. But, oh well. So, I need to find Weir's, whatever it was, Weir's Observatory, right here. Alrighty. So the win conditions are to defeat the monsters. Pretty simple. The loss condition is either the terror track hits the maximum, or the monster deck runs out of cards. Monster deck running out of cards is indicative of you've just run out of time. No more time left to fight against evil. And now, the way the game works is On the hero's turn, the heroes take a number of actions represented by the value down here in the corner of their card, always working toward being able to complete the criteria behind each monster's specific set of conditions. So for the Yeti, reveal the Yeti's cave, use guide to escort the Yeti's children to the cave. Once there, place the Yeti's children in the empty space on the mat, and once you've gotten all 3 of them, then you can use one of each type of item to be able to defeat the Yeti at the end of the game. So that's how you beat the Yeti. And for the Sphinx, you solve the riddle by having items that equal the amounts on each row and column. And once you've done so, you can discard 6 power worth of items to defeat the Sphinx. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Now we just alternate between 4 hero actions, 1 monster card, 4 hero actions, 1 monster card, until the game is done. So, oh, I just have to check one thing. The starting items. We add items to the board as we go, based on instructions on the monster cards, but I think there is a draw 12 items and put them at the locations. Okay, yeah, there's a starting pool of items that you have to make sure that you lay out on the board. So we'll grab 12 items out of here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now, as it tells you to add items to the board, each item has locations listed on it. So, like this one has a location of the steam plant. So, when you add items, they go to the locations that they have listed on them. So I'll take these 12 items that we grabbed, and I will try to figure out where those locations are. Because I didn't see a steam plant at all. But there's got to be one. Alright, well, we'll keep looking for that. The House of Dusk, the Fool's Journey. I'm not seeing any of these things. Am I playing the right game? I'm kidding. There's a steam plant there. There's the House of Dusk. There's the Fool's Journey. There's another House of Dusk. The Scuttled Siren. The Arcane Forge. The Garden of the Risen. The Steam Plant again. The Thornvine Woods. The North Station. The Door of the World. And the Door of the World again. So, Door of the Worlds. Garden of the Risen is down here, and the Arcane Forge is hidden. I don't see the Arcane Forge anywhere. Okay, well, oh, yeah, Arcane Forge. Just have to be able to read. Alright, so those are 12 items to start out with. The items, you actually can pick up as many as you want on a turn, so kind of like it was in Scooby-Doo, which I'm interested to see which of those 2 games came first, because it seems as though this is very similar. But yeah, we go collect those items. We use those to meet different criteria on the game, and at the end use them to defeat each monster in turn. So I will go ahead and get started by going to collect some items, because honestly, without any items on hand, there's not a lot else you can do from the beginning here. So 1, 2, 3, collect that item, and 4. So the reason I need to collect the items is because, well, for the Yeti, I have to lead the Yeti children back to the Yeti cave, but I need to have 3 power worth of items to reveal the lair at each location. If I don't have 3 power worth of items to discard, then I can't reveal the lair, and well, then I don't know where to take the Yeti kids anyway. So, monster turn. The number in the top corner of the monster card is how many items you add to the board. So in this case, 3. And then there is some errata that you execute, and then at the bottom it gives instructions for what actions the monsters take. So for this card, we are adding a citizen, Morgana, to the board at Mary's Mill, which is up here. And whenever the void gives us an awful fright, Morgan appears. Do the villagers' emotions manifest as spirit? So she's a ghost, but she's still a villager, and saving her can gain us a perk card. So next up, we have the frenzy creature, and a creature with the red palm symbol. So the Yeti doesn't have a red palm symbol, but he is the frenzied creature, and the Sphinx does have a red palm symbol, so they will both act on this turn. And each of them gets to move 1 space and attack with 2 die. So they'll always move toward the closest villager or hero. And 1 space wasn't quite enough for them to get close enough to attack her. So it's the hero's turn again. So on this turn I will take another item. 1, move for 2, discard the item I took to reveal this lair, and we have, I think that's actually the Yeti lair. There's no words on it, just a picture, so I need to reference the manual. I don't know the icons yet, but that's okay, it doesn't want to show me the icons anyway. So I would assume it's the Yeti, but I cannot say for sure. The page with the lair tokens on it references them, but gives me no indication of what they look like. Alright, so anyway, so that was my 3rd action, right? So picked up item, moved, revealed, move again, end of turn. And I forgot to place the 3 items from Morgan when I drew her. So 3 more items to be placed at the Door of the World, the Garden of the Risen, which means before I move off, instead of moving, I will collect that from there. The North Station again. And now I will draw another monster card. This one says 1 item, so we'll add 1 more item. Oh, there's the Door of the World. We're adding this one to the Spectral Trail Caravan. This one says each sword monster, so both these monsters have a sword icon, deals 1 damage to each hero and villager in their space. Fortunately, they're not in a space with a villager or a hero. And the icon for which monster to move this turn is the purple eye, which neither of these monsters have. So, nothing to worry about with this monster turn. So now it's the hero turn again. And we will go 1, 2, sacrifice both of those to reveal the Yangshi Moonshrine lair. 4 or 3 to take this item, and 4 to guide this Yeti child to my location. So now I've got 2 of the Yeti children with me, and if we're going to assume this is the Yeti lair, then, well, I'm in a pretty good position right now. On to the monster turn. We're adding 3 more items to the board. Each monster moves 1 space toward the closest hero. So in this case, that means both of them move here, putting Morgan on the same space as both of the monsters. The Garden of the Risen, the Roaming Wolf, and the North Station. North Station's collecting a whole bunch of items. This time we have the Frenzied Monster moving first and moving 3 spaces, which he doesn't do at all because he's already on a space of the villager, and if that's the case, then they stop where they are. And he's going to attack said villager with 2 die. So we have a blank and a, I believe, is a hit symbol. The character is hit by the monster's attack. A single hit is enough to defeat any villager, so unfortunately Morgan is taken out by the Yeti's attack. Now for the second monster symbol, we have a green bottle, which the Yeti has one of those on his card, meaning he gets 2 turns. 1, 2, 3, and now he gets to attack me for 2 die. And both of those are hits. I can defend by discarding items with equivalent power, but I don't have enough. So there's really not a whole lot I can do. Yeti has successfully killed me, which in this game is not a game over. It sends you to the Throne of Revival, but it does increase the terror track by 1. And now it's right back to my turn. So I was in a good place to get the Yeti kids to the Yeti lair, but am not so much anymore. But que sera. So I will move 1 space, collect this for my second action, move 2, 3. Okay, monster turn. Add 3 items to the board. We're adding the Citizen Shinza, which is a fish in a mech suit, interestingly. There's Shinza, who we're adding to the board. And they are going to be added in the Arcane Forge, which is over here. Nope, that's not. Down here. Alright, and now the frenzied monster moves 2 spaces and gets to attack for 1, but that's not close enough to attack, and any monsters with a ghost icon, which the Sphinx has, also get to move 2 spaces and attack, which fortunately that wasn't quite enough to get them in my space yet. So again, with my turn, I will go ahead and 1, 2, 3, 4 run by the Yeti, or the Sphinx, because I need to start collecting some more items. On the Sphinx's card, the top row needs to equal 11, the bottom row 12 or 10, and then first column is 7, second column is 5, and third column is 9. Right now I have 2 power in the first column, which I don't think that's really going to cut it, because I need something pretty strong to be able to go with that to hit the 7. But we'll see. So that was my 4 actions. Next up, we draw and have another monster in each bottle. Icon monster removes all items from the closest space containing items. So the Yeti removes this one because he's the only bottle icon we have out there. But I placed 2 new items on the board. And then the frenzied monster and the Sphinx also are both going to get to act this turn. So these new items, we have 1 for the Garden of the Risen, and we have 1 for the Spectral Trail Caravan. Unfortunately, that Garden of the Risen one was on the space where the Yeti removed them, so it goes right back off the board. And the Spectral Trail Caravan, and then each of the monsters moves 1 space and attacks with 3 die. 1, 1. I am fortunately still out of the reach. So my turn. 1, 2. Gather all these up. Oh hey, one of those has a 6 power. 3, 4. So if I start filling in the Yeti card, or the Sphinx card, to try and work on defeating him, this last column needs to equal 9. So I'll put 6 and a 3 in there to give me the 9 that I'm after. And then I can put a 3 and a 2 to equal the 5 in the middle column. So now I need an item with a power of 5, and that will fill in that last space and solve the Sphinx's riddle. But that's going to be, oh, there is one at the North Station already, so I can try to head up there and grab that. But let's see what the monsters get to do on their turn. We're adding 3 items to the board, and the citizens James and Betty. And James and Betty are going to be moving into the South Station. The 3 items we're adding to the board go to the Arcane Forge, the Weir's Observatory, and the Weir's Observatory. So there's that. And the frenzied monster, and both of them, again, because they have sword icons, get to move 2 spaces and attack with 2 die. So Yeti will move right down here and attack our newest additions. For citizens, oh hey, no hits. But unfortunately for the citizens, the Yeti gets 2 turns because he's both frenzied and has a sword icon. So he gets a second chance to try and take them out. Oh, hey, look at that. He misses again. He does not kill off those civilians. And now the Sphinx will move 2 spaces to try and catch up with me, but not close enough to attack. Alright, so my turn. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go try to grab that 5 power item up in the corner. This time we have no items coming into play. Each monster with a ghost icon moves 3 spaces toward the hero with the most items, which means the Yeti moves 3 spaces toward me. And then the frenzied monster and monsters with sword icons get to move 1 space and attack for 3. So frenzied monster moves 1 space, attacks for 3, which he's not in my space. But then monsters with sword icons get to move 1 space, which means the Yeti moves again and attacks me with 3 dice. Which means 1 successful attack and 1 use of his special ability. His special ability is the closest hero or citizen not in the Yeti's location takes 1 hit. This has no effect if everyone is in the Yeti's location. So I take 1 hit, and I also take a hit from the successful attack, but I do this time want to go ahead and discard 2 power worth of items to defend against that. And then the Sphinx moves 1 space, which does not put him close enough to attack me, and it's my turn again. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll put that one that we collected with a power of 5 onto the Sphinx's card to solve his riddle. So now we can defeat the Sphinx by moving to its location and discarding 6 power worth of items. That was 1, 2, 3. Okay, yeah, that was all 4. So if we survive, we'll be doing just fine. But monster turn, we'll add 1 item to the board. Each monster with a sword deals 1 damage to each hero or villager in their space. Nobody's sharing a space right now, so that won't really matter. Alright, this one gets added to Stilt Town. And then each enemy with the eye icon, which none of the monsters have. So no attack to worry about this time. And instead we can keep going with our turn. So 1, 2, 3. Discard 6 power worth of items. And the Sphinx is defeated. So 1 down, 1 to go. That was 1, 2, 3, and the attack was 4, so that's really all I can do my turn. And now it's the Yeti's turn. We're adding 3 items to the board, and the citizen Dr. Weir. Dr. Weir starts in the Skybound Galleon. There you go. And 3 items to the board, and then the Frenzied Monster is going to move 1 space and attack with 1 die. Meaning I get to stay out of the Yeti's reach. Let's see, so we go House of Dawn for this one. That's a new location. We haven't heard that one before. House of Dawn, Garden of the Risen, and Stilt Town. Okay. Our turn. At this point, we just need to try to collect up all the Yeti kids and move them to the Yeti Cave, which, without more specific direction, we're just assuming it's this layer. And yeah, that was honestly the most math I've done in I don't even know how long Slinky, so surprised I was able to figure that one out. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I wanted to collect those because the defeat conditions mean I have to use one of each type of item to defeat the Yeti. So one of each type of item. In this instance means what exactly? Because we have different colors of items, but there are like a dozen actual different items. Does that mean I have to use a dozen items to be able to defeat the Yeti? That sounds really kind of difficult. I'm thinking it just means one of each color. So that's what we're going to go with, is one of each color item to defeat the Yeti once we get to that point. So, Yeti's turn. We'll add 3 items to the board, and oh, that's a nice gesture. We're adding a new citizen named Raimi. So I don't know if Raimi's actually from the mythology of any of these monsters, or if it's a nod to Sam Raimi. Let's just think that it's a nod to Sam Raimi. So, all right. So the scuttled siren, the Mary's Mill, and the roaming wolf get new items added to them. So wherever Mary's Mill is, there she is. And the frenzied monster and any monster with a ghost icon. So Yeti gets 2 actions this turn. Gets to move 1 space and attack for 3. So move 1 space, no attack. Move 1 space, and he's attacking me for 3. Wow. No hits. I make it past that unscathed. And now it's my turn. So, 1, I will use my guide action. The guide action allows you to move characters or villagers from an adjacent space to your space, or from your space to an adjacent space. In this case, I will use it to move the Yeti children to me. I just want to verify whether or not I can use it once, or I have to use it 2 times because there are 2 Yeti children there. So the guide action says move 1 citizen from your hero's location to adjacent space. So I guess I have to use that 1 action 2 times to move these 2 Yeti kids. So 1, 2, and 3. Well, 4, because, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 means I've brought 2 Yeti kids home, and now it's the monster's turn. But hey, I'm on my way to actually winning a 2nd game in a row on stream. What are the odds? So we're adding 3 items, and the citizen Howard, who is a Batman villain apparently. Looks like he's from the League of Owls, or whatever they're called. But he comes in to the Steward's Spire. And we're getting a good number of civilians on the map at this point, but I'm honestly not trying to save any of them. So, House of Dawn, Skybound Galleon, and Spindlewood Institute. And then The Yeti gets 2 turns again, but only moves 1 space for each. So 1 space. I guess he'll attack Owl Guy. No damage, but he does use his ice power. Closest hero citizen not at the Yeti's location takes 1 hit. Oh, I guess I didn't actually take a hit from that last time because it's only against people not in the Yeti's location. So that means I take a hit from it. But I will discard that to defend. And then he gets a second turn, which, fortunately for me, he's in a location that has a citizen, so he's just going to attack that same citizen. And do enough damage that Owl Guy is defeated. My turn. 1, 2, 3 to guide this guy back toward me. 4. What color? Oh, purple. Okay. I still need a purple item to be able to follow my rule or my house rule of using 3 items of different colors to defeat the Yeti. Hopefully he doesn't defeat me this turn. Add 3 items to the board. I'll get to it later. I'm not worried about it right now. Add the Citizen Vaughn. Whatever. I'm not going to do that either. Move the Yeti 1 space. Attack for 2. So my turn. Move 1. That Yeti Child's return to lair. 2 to pick this up, and 3 to discard 1 of each color. I think that's it. Yeti has been defeated. And almost on track for time for this stream as well. Right there, just over the hour mark. So that was a quick playthrough of one of the 4 flavors of Horrified. Like I said, it's a really fun game, and it's even more fun cooperatively. So it's a good time for, a number of friends. I think it supports up to 5. So I was worried that the increased terror track would be an issue, but didn't really seem to have much of a problem. So I would give Horrified a solid 7, 8 for multiplayer. But that's it for tonight. So I will learn a game this week, and we will do a stream this weekend. So come back on Sunday for the thing. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a good night.